Peace, everybody. I'm just gonna play around with my guitar until more people get in here. We're gonna talk about this religious exemption um, and reasonable accommodations. What your company's rights are as far as the vaccine mandates. You know, they have rights just like you have. So I'm gonna go over that because some people believe that they have all the rights because the Constitution protects their rights. Yes, you do have rights, but businesses have rights as well. That, especially when they're dealing with the public, and so I'm going to go over that because just because you have a right to religious freedoms, your rights to religious freedoms cannot infringe on somebody else's freedom or liberty or health, for that matter. So I'm gonna go over that, but until I get more people in the room, I know it's early, 6:25. I'm up early. You know, this is the time I practice my runs on my guitar, just to kind of get my fingers loosened up. You know, because this learning guitar is kind of it's work. Constant practice to get better. I haven't even been doing this for a year, so this is what I do to get my fingers ready. You know, I go fast, I go slow. When you're learning, you need to go slow to kind of get your fingers in the rhythm of moving up and down your guitar. And I'm only hitting the first three strings. See, fingers get stuck. See, it takes practice. See, what y'all see in those concerts comes from hours and hours of practice. Actually, practice is very boring because you're doing the same thing, you know. See? All right, that's enough. Let's get on to this lesson. Warmed up with that. So let me share the screen. Got about 5 people. It's enough. It's enough in here. All right, I can play my guitar all day. I love it since I started playing it. I've always wanted to play an instrument. I actually wanted to play the saxophone. But some reason I decided to start out with a classical guitar. That's what I was actually playing with, nylon strings. That's a mid-range guitar, a little bit above beginner guitar. I love the sound of the nylon strings. All right, here we go. Let me get my screen back focused on me here. All right. Where's my headset? Probably don't even need this, but you know. All right, so got 4 people in here. Let me I got to give my station branding out. Here we go. Boom. I gotta update my intro there. It's time for me to do it. That's an old one. All right. This is a sample of a religious exemption, something that a company sent out to someone I did a consultation with. Um, and this is a sample of that, what they what they was record what they want them to fill out, right? So let me get to it. This is it. Religious accommodation request. See, a company has to give, they do have to give you a right of religious exemption, but also the company has a have to do it within the boundaries of an accommodation, meaning if your job is essential and you are affecting the immediate public, that means that you are putting the health at risk, the public at risk, because you may not want to get a vaccine. This is how they view it. See, I'm giving you the lens, the eye, and the perception of a company. Companies, when they're doing business, they have liabilities to deal with. So not only do they have to protect your rights, they have to protect the rights of the people that work alongside you, and they have to protect the rights of the public as well. They have a responsibility, which is a huge responsibility. So if they're getting, mandates and they're talking about vaccines and they're being told that it's going to protect the public, so they have to react to that. They have to respond to that and make an accommodation within reason that doesn't cause undue hardship on the company or the people within the company. So yeah, you may not want to get the vaccine, and that is your right. But a company has a right to protect all of their employees as well as the public's interest. So their responsibility is bigger than yours because you're just one person, one individual, one family, and you have certain rights. Yes, you have a right to your freedoms, to do whatever you want, long as it doesn't hurt anyone else. A company's responsibility is not just to you, but it's to everyone around them as well. So, so with that being said, these questionnaires that they're sending out, I'll read this one to you. It says, you are notified of a potential need for a reasonable accommodation in order to be exempt from private company requirement that U.S. based employees be fully vaccinated by December 8th, 2021. This is the date this particular company put into place. We won't name such and such company. I have edited with the information. This acknowledgement letter formally initiates an interactive process with you to determine the nature of any sincerely held religious belief or practice for which you are seeking accommodation that may be affecting your ability to be fully vaccinated, any possible job accommodation that will reduce or eliminate the threat of injury, harm to yourself and others as a result of the fact that you are not fully vaccinated. Again, this is not to express my opinions on vaccinations. This is just merely to give you both sides of the coins of what you should expect or what you're going to deal with. You know, so private company will gather the information you need to help us respond to your request. Your cooperation in this process is indispensable. So that means you must cooperate, basically. Once we have gathered the preliminary information, your request will be addressed in accordance with the law. If you fail to cooperate with this interactive process, refuse to provide requested information, management may be unable to respond to your request in a timely manner or may be unable to approve your request for accommodation. What is your role in the process in response? You play an indispensable role in the process to ensure management has all pertinent information related to the accommodation request. As such, we need you to supply the requested information in a timely manner. We ask that you complete and return the religious accommodation request. And this is particularly related to the COVID vaccine. This document should be returned to private company by November 1st. This is the timeline. Then I'll skip down to this. It says the company prohibits retaliation. The company prohibits retaliation against any employee who requests a reasonable accommodation. Immediately notify your HR and everything. So they're saying they're not going to retaliate you or against you for your religious objections to certain. Then they have questions, and I'm basically kind of, they give you these little boxes to answer these questions. Question: what is religion, or what you are seeking in accommodation? Then if it was me, you do what you want. I would say see a tax explanatory statement. What is a specific sincerely held religious belief? See a tax explanatory statement. Now, number 2 is a questionable question because it's asking for specific, sincerely religious beliefs or practice for which you are seeking accommodation. Now, that question is kind of, to me, from a liability point of view, it's a tricky question that a company can ask, because now you're asking me what my religion is, and say if you deny it, to me, it just opens them up for a possible lawsuit, because now you're questioning belief, and then you're saying, well, I don't, if they deny this, then you're saying I don't agree with your beliefs. See, me, if I was a company, I would just ask a simple question: give me a statement as to your sincerely held beliefs, and I would keep it very short and brief, because the more questions you ask a person, now it's basically you're scrutinizing their religious beliefs, and that's not allowed in this this country. This what makes the United States of America a great country, is because it doesn't allow for people to question your faith. And the Constitution protects that. That's an inalienable right. So this question right here, I have issue with it when they ask specifically, what is your belief or practice which you're seeking accommodation? Then it says, then it comes down to another line, because when did you begin following? Now they're asking when you started. That's tricky. Describe the conflict between the religious belief. Now, this one is reasonable when they're asking for the conflict. That's a reasonable question to me. Provide as much specificity as possible and identify all areas of conflict. Please describe whether, as an adult, you have received a vaccine against other diseases. Now they want to know whether you did this before. Have you been in the practice of receiving vaccines? And is this the only vaccine you don't want to take? And to me, that's a reasonable question. That is reasonable. Now, all of a sudden, you don't want to take it, and I know I've said this before. A lot of people are jumping on the religious freedoms bandwagon just because of this specific vaccine. And I'm telling you right now, if I was a company, I would question that. Are you doing this because now, this is why I always, I've been telling y'all for years, y'all need to practice your religion at all times, not just practice it for convenience or fear. Now, all of a sudden, you want to jump over to this side because you don't like that this particular vaccine came out too fast, and you're hearing all these negative things about it. To me, you playing on both sides of the fence. One minute you want to be part of the world, now you don't want to be part of the world, and it's pretty hypocritical if you ask me. I'm here to tell you the truth, not make up lies and try to give you what you want to hear. I'm here to tell you, most people that are objecting to this particular vaccine have taken vaccines before and didn't have a problem with it. Why? Because there wasn't so much publicity behind them, and they weren't even paying attention to the risk of vaccines. With vaccines, there were risks all the time. This is why they lobby to have themselves not be sued. This is not new when it comes to vaccines and people being harmed. That's why they have a website that records things that happen when you get vaccinated. If it was, listen, why would you have a website solely based on adverse reactions if they didn't cause harm. You wouldn't have that, right? So come on. This is not new. It's new to you because you now just want to wake up to the idea that you don't want to take it. But it's an old situation. It's an old argument. Me personally, I have been objecting for years. So that's just me. Now, I'm not telling you to do what I do. That's on you. This is me. I have my personal and religious beliefs why I don't do certain things. But I've been walking this for years. Now, did I get vaccines in the past? Yes, I got them because my parents gave them to me, like most of us did, right? And at the time, we didn't have a problem with it. You know, we didn't think anything of it. We're still here. I don't think this, your religious beliefs should be real, not fake. All right. Then it says, if you do not have a religious exemption to use of all, please explain why. Then they're saying, if you don't have religious exemption to the other ones, then why this one? Reasonable question, I believe. If there are any other medicine products that you do not use because really, then they want to know what your other objections are. Like some religions, medical products, do not accept blood. That's one of their objections. And there's a lot of case law in the courts for this particular religion in the blood issue. So, yeah. Then they want you to describe the accommodation that you propose to eliminate the conflict between your religious belief or practice and the work requirement. Include any alternative. Now I think this is a great question. They're asking, what do you think the accommodation should be? If, you know, so that they can come up with a good decision. Like, for instance, a lot of people are working from home now. So you're in your home. I don't personally believe that you need to be vaccinated if you don't want to be vaccinated, if you're working from home and you're not in direct contact with your employees at work and any public. So if you're working from home, I don't see why a company wouldn't give you that exemption. So I would state that here. I work from home. I'm a remote worker, or my job has the option to be a remote worker. I would put that there. Please include any verification documents to support this request for an accommodation. Identify any sources. Now, this is another one. Number 9. I'm not a lawyer, just letting y'all know, but to me, that's a tricky question. You're asking people to give you religious texts to prove their point? Show me. So if you don't, okay, you deny it. This is from a company, from a business owner point of view, I would stay away from that question. Because now if I decide I don't want to give it to that employee and they gave me these religious texts and I'm saying I disagree with the religious text. Now I'm putting myself in harm's way as a company when I put this here. That's potential loss. Well, this question here, I told them what it was. They disagree with it and I go to take a court. They said, they disagree with my religion. I would stay away from questions like that. I don't know, I don't know if they had a lawyer look at these questions or not, or something. You gotta remember, a lot of lawyers are trained how school taught them, and a lot of the very good lawyers that I know will tell you, school can't teach you for the reason why they're good lawyers, because they threw a lot of the stuff they got taught in school out the window and studied Constitution and studied the laws and paid attention to things that school didn't bring their attention to. So, and I know quite a few very good lawyers out there, but a lot of them are cookie cutter. School, what you call, it's like when I went to barbering school, the teacher can only give me application principles. This barbering school is basically teaching you how to pass the test to become a licensed barber. That's what it's for. It's not teaching you really how to cut hair and how to become good. How did I learn how to become good? Once I got into a barbershop and got around more experienced and seasoned barbers and started emulating what they did and started really studying hair and stuff like that. That's how I became a very good barber. I didn't wasn't a good barber coming out of school. I just knew how to pass the test. And test taught me what? Sanitary uh practices, how to be clean and not pass along diseases to other uh customers. You know, different little techniques that I don't even like. I had to learn how to do relaxers and stuff like that, how to put chemicals in here. What registered barber is doing that on a regular basis? When I came out of barber schools, I barely did that. Every now and then I did the texturizer. But what I'm saying is a lot of the things, and to hear that they wanted me with the questions about cutting hair was basically catered towards European hair, which I 85% of the time were not cutting. So when it comes to school, you have to really know that when lawyers are coming out of school, they're just taught basics, processes, and procedures. They're not really taught how to win a case and practice. They have to practice comes from doing something over and over. I didn't become a good barber, you know, from doing something. I'm not going to become a good guitar player. Yeah, I got a teacher who teaches me techniques, but to get better, I have to practice over and over and over and over and over again. You know, the stuff I was doing just a few minutes ago, I couldn't do when I first started. I wouldn't even know where to start if I didn't have a teacher. It's just a guideline. So just understand that when you see number 9, that tells me, in my opinion, that was an unseasoned lawyer who put this in here. Is there any other information that you believe will assist? And that's it. Now, let's go to, let me share my screen here. What's going on? Oh, let me stop share. All right. Peace. Thanks for the birthday wishes. Thanks, Maxim. And thanks for the donation. Um, Thanks for the donation. All right, let me share my screen to this other uh case that I was reading. Wise versus Inslee. These are recent cases that this month. Um, is that the correct case? Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna try to read through most of this to kind of give you the gist of what's going on, and it's an order denying motion for temporary restraining order preliminary injunction. So their order was they want to do a temporary restraining order for the vaccine mandates, and it got denied basically. Order denying motion for temporary restraining order preliminary. Okay. Before the court in plaintiff's motion for temporary restraining order preliminary injunction, this matter was submitted for consideration with oral arguments on October 22nd, 2021. So this just happened last week. Milton Rowland and Grant Wolf appeared on behalf of plaintiffs. Andrew Hughes appeared on behalf of the state defendants, and Chad Mitchell, Liz Kennar, and David Smith appeared on behalf of defendant Schaefer. The court has reviewed the record and files hearing, considered the parties' oral arguments, and is formally informed. For the reasons discussed below, plaintiff's motion for temporary restraining order is denied. It got denied. Right. This matter relates to Governor Inslee's proclamation 21-14 as sequential. The proclamation concerning mandatory vaccination for educators, healthcare workers, and state employees and contractors. The proclamation prohibits affected employees from performing work after October 18, 2021 if they are not fully vaccinated. ECF number 45-5 at 5. The proclamation does not create freestanding exemptions, but acknowledges that anti-discrimination statutes permit certain individuals to avoid the vaccination requirement if they are entitled to disability-related accommodations or sincerely held religious belief accommodations. So they're saying they can get accommodations, if they have sincerely religious belief accommodation. The Rehabilitation Act of 1973, Title 7, of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the Washington Law Against Discrimination, and any other applicable law. The proclamation currently affects approximately 681,000 workers in Washington state. Proclamation 21-14 was initially issued on August 9, 2021 and applied to certain state agency and healthcare workers. Subsequent Proclamation 21-14.1 was issued on August 20th, 2021, and extended the vaccination requirement to workers in educational settings. Proclamation 21-14.2 was issued on September 27, 2021, and further extended the vaccination requirement to on-site contractors working with certain state entities. The named plaintiffs in the present litigation are employed by various entities affected by the proclamation, including multiple state agencies, a local government entity, and healthcare provider. Generally, plaintiffs oppose the vaccine requirement, although their individual reasons for oppositions vary. So they got these plaintiffs and they got varying oppositions. They're not right there. You will most likely lose with these types of lawsuits when you're with many people because they have their different ideas. It's if you're gonna, to me, if you're gonna go, you need to do this on an individual level. Because why? It's your individual, sincerely held belief. It's not everyone's. So when you come in as a group, you run the chance to get knocked down just because all you need is one bad apple in that bunch, and boom, you're done. Plaintiff filed a complaint on October 6, 2021, alleging the proclamation violates state and federal law. ECF number 1, plaintiffs filed an amended complaint on October 15th, 2021, which is the operative complaint. ECF number 26, plaintiffs filed a present motion for temporary restraining order preliminary injunction on October 15th, 2021, seeking to enjoin the proclamation. ECF number 13, due to the procedural posture of the case at the hearing on October 22nd, 2021, the court adjudicated both the temporary restraining order and the preliminary injunction. Discussion. Pursuant to Federal Rule of Civil Procedure 65, a district court may grant a TRO, which is a temporary restraining order, in order to prevent immediate and irreparable injury. The analysis for granting a temporary restraining order is substantially identical to that for preliminary injunction. Stolberg International Sales Company, Inc. versus John D. Brush and Company. It is an extraordinary remedy never rewarded as of right. Went to the Nat Res Def Council Incorporated. To obtain this relief, a plaintiff must demonstrate 1, a likelihood of success on the merits, 2, a likelihood of irreparable injury in the absence of preliminary relief, that a balancing of the hardship weighs in plaintiff's favor, and 4, that a preliminary injunction will advance the public interest. Now, before I read through some of this, so what they're trying to say is, in order to win on the merits of a temporary restraining order, the plaintiff looks like they should prevail. Like the hardship, the balance of power is on that plaintiff's side, and whatever they decide could cause irreparable harm to the to them. So, all right, so that's how those are looked at. I'm trying to get my words together here. So if a company comes against you and say they want you to do something, so you have to show the court that this decision is going to cause irreparable harm if this goes through. Now, I can tell you vaccine mandates do not meet that merit. Why? Because they've been mandating vaccines since before I was born, basically. Okay? And people have been taking them for years. And let's be honest, most of us do not know, like me personally, just like don't know anybody personally that has been harmed by a vaccine. I don't. I hear people having simple symptoms. Like my dad seemed to had some issues, but now he's fine. See what I'm saying? What I'm saying is the type of irreparable harm is, Bell's palsy, things like that, and death. That's irreparable. And I'm sure it's happening, but personally, most of us do not know. anyone that is having a problem. You know, just from my personal circle, I could tell you that. So I have to be objective and be reasonable and be truthful when I'm looking at these things. You know, I sit back and I watch these things. Do I know anybody personally? I hear things, I get videos, but I'm not in the midst of anyone. Now, I've heard where someone took a vaccine. I'm not going to say the specific one. I know someone personally who took the vaccine, and all of a sudden their cancer got worse. But even in that, I'm not a doctor. I haven't examined that person, so I could just say that's the coincidence. You know, more than likely, maybe, I don't know. But anyway, so why that's the really reason vaccines have been issued. People been taking them. You've been sending your children to school with them. You know, now it's just a sudden rush to I don't want to take any now because of the whatever personal reasons you have. Okay, let's keep going. Alternative, the Ninth Circuit also permits a sliding scale approach under which an injunction may be issued if there are serious questions going to the merits, and the balance of hardship tips sharply in the plaintiff's favor, assuming the plaintiff also satisfied the two other winter factors. All for the Wild Rockies versus Cottrell, a stronger showing of one element may offset a weaker showing of another. We have also articulated an alternative formulation of winter rest under which serious questions go into the merits and a balance of hardship that tips sharply towards plaintiff can support issuance of preliminary injunction so long as the plaintiff also shows that there's a likelihood of irreparable injury and that the injunction is in the public interest. See, that's when it comes to vaccine, that's going to be hard to overcome. Very hard. Have people been harmed by them? Yes, they have. I'm sure. Just like any other medical intervention, people have been harmed somewhere, somehow. Okay. But you got to prove that it's going to be irreparable harm for you. And they're going to look at your past track record. You know, you've been doing this before. Now you want to stop now. So let's keep going. Let's go. I'm just going to skip down to religious freedom. Plaintiffs appear to argue Proclamation 2114 is facially neutral but not generally applicable because it essentially creates an unlawful faith-based barrier to gainful employment. ECF number 13th at 16. Plaintiffs further argue the proclamation is unconstitutional because it cannot survive strict scrutiny. Defendants argue plaintiffs' claims present facial challenges to the proclamation because the remedy plaintiffs are seeking includes a declaration. The entire proclamation is unconstitutional. As an initial matter, the court notes that plaintiffs rely almost entirely on Washington case law for their free exercise claim, despite also alleging challenges to the federal Constitution. While this court may exercise supplemental jurisdiction over state law claims pursuant to 28 U.S.C. 1367, let's see what that says. Let's open link in new tab. What does that say? What is that law they're talking about? Oh, it's just supplemental jurisdiction. That's basically what it's talking about. So let's go back. Let's make sure you guys can see this clearly. All right. All right. Let's go back. All right. In the interest of judicial economy, convenience, fairness, and committee, the court declined supplemental jurisdiction over plaintiff state law claims and will address only the challenges to federal law. The Supreme Court has long endorsed state and local government authority to impose compulsory vaccines. See Jacobson v. Commonwealth of Massachusetts, 197 U.S. 11. So, and Prince versus Massachusetts, 321 U.S. 158. The right to practice religion freely does not include liberty to expose the community or the child to communicable disease or the latter to ill health or death. As the contours of judicial review for constitutional cases develop, courts continue to assess which level of scrutiny is applicable in vaccine mandate cases. See E.G. Clausen versus Trustees of Indiana University, and it goes on and on. Federal courts have routinely analyzed such cases using rational basis and regularly reject cases similar to this one that challenge vaccine mandates based on free exercise of religion. And they give you the case law. While challenges to free exercise of religion are traditionally subject to strict scrutiny, facially neutral and generally applicable state regulations need only support rational basis, even if they incidentally burden religious practices. Defendants argue plaintiffs' claims allege a facial challenge to the proclamation. However, plaintiffs concede the proclamation is facially neutral, ECF number 13 at 18. Therefore, the court will focus only on whether the proclamation is generally applicable. A law is not generally applicable if the record before the court compels the conclusion that suppression of religion or religious practice is the object of law at issue. So, what they're saying is if the mandate is not suppressing religious or religious practice, but let me keep reading. Here, the object of the proclamation is clear: slow the spread of COVID-19, ECF number 45-4. There's no discriminatory animus or objective. Moreover, the proclamation applies with equal force to all educators, healthcare workers, state employees, and contractors, regardless of religious affiliation or lack thereof. Finally, the proclamation recognizes exemptions for those who qualify for accommodations due to their sincerely held religious beliefs. As defendants rightly indicate, because there are no exemptions for political, personal, or other objections, if anything, the proclamation encourages religious practice. A benefit to religion does not disfavor religion in violation of the free exercise clause. Indeed, many of the named plaintiffs applied for and received an exemption based on their sincerely held religious beliefs. Plaintiffs cannot demonstrate a discriminatory application solely because they disagree with the availability of accommodations. Plaintiffs have failed to demonstrate how the proclamation is not generally applicable. See, how they came into court was wrong. They're trying to say they were being discriminated based on their religion. No, they were not. They could get the religious exemption as long if there was a reasonable accommodation that would not cause undue hardship on the employee, their fellow employees, the company, and the public. See the point here? Some people did get it because their job was not probably directly related to being involved or in close contact with the public. But like if you're an educator, you have to come in contact with children every day and other people, the parents, everything. So basically, you know, you have my daughter's telling me happy birthday. Text me. um, you have to you have your rights, but your rights cannot interfere with other people's rights. You cannot interfere with your company's right, who you work for. This is why I keep telling you guys, the only way out of this is to have your own. Your own. Do your own thing. You cannot go and regulate these companies' businesses and how they operate. They have a right just like you are. The issue I'm seeing, people are trying to force their employers to do things that may jeopardize the public. Now, you might have your personal beliefs and call certain things a hoax or whatever, but still, that's your belief and yours only. You own that. The company doesn't have to own it. This is why I call my show Truth Tuesday. Yeah, I'm not here to give you what you want to hear, stroke your egos, stroke your patriotic, constitutional, uh, you know, need to fight these government entities and these companies. Because that's what most people that, in the patriot community, they want to go against everything that's going down and fight, fight, fight. And as far as I can see, they're losing. Okay. What your opinions are about whether these things are dangerous or it's a hoax or whatever, that's your opinion. It's not provable. You can't prove it. Companies are looking at one thing. What are their responsibilities to you, the people you work with, and the public? And number one is their bottom line. Is this going to affect their bottom line? Is this going to be a lawsuit if I don't put something in place to protect the public? It's just like you may not want it. There's many of people who want it. And they're going to be on the other side saying that their rights are being violated because the company didn't institute any type of policy to protect their health. This is what you're dealing with when you're out there working for someone. This is what you have to deal with. It comes with the territory. Next, the court turns to the applicable standard that should be applied to determine constitutionality of the proclamation. As previously noted, federal courts have routinely applied rational basis when evaluating challenges to vaccine mandates based on free exercise claim. Nonetheless, for the purposes of the present motion, the court need not decide which standard should apply because the proclamation provides both strict scrutiny and rational basis. And I agree. I agree with, it does, you know, survive the scrutiny and rational basis. This is not to me, a political trying to set people up thing. It's just you have to look at it. The Constitution protects your rights, but it also protects the rights of people around you. And if you are living in a situation where they are wildly saying that this is a dangerous situation and we need to stop it, and that's the perception, then guess what? Perception prevails in this and you have to work within those perceptions, especially when you're dealing with other people who don't agree with you. So what do you want? You want them to, oh no, this is wrong, and you give you all the rights, and the people who believe that their health is in jeopardy, just forget them. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. Uh, First, plaintiffs acknowledge the state has a compelling interest in preventing the spread of COVID-19. Yes, they have yes. The Supreme Court has endorsed this same compelling interest. Roman Catholic Diocese of Brooklyn versus Cuomo. The proclamation is narrowly tailored in that it applies to specific sectors whose employees are essential to combating COVID-19, who come into regular contact with vulnerable segments of the public. See the rationale? And to me, it's reasonable. See, I take my personal feelings out of this. Yeah, I have my personal feelings, but they're gone because my personal feelings is for me and me alone. But when I look at it as a whole, we are living in a society where we are connected and doing business daily, you know? So just because I have a personal belief on something, that person that I'm connected to may not agree with me. So I'm living in a society where we're intertwined, interconnected everywhere we go. So I have to respect other people's belief systems. So if I don't agree with someone and I don't want to do something, guess what? I don't participate with them. I go somewhere else where I'm with people of like minds. I don't have to fight them or argue with them and say they're wrong. And they don't have to do the same thing to me. If they have their belief, they go over there and go there where they feel like they're safe and do it. Since this whole thing, I've had disagreements with people, and guess where they are? We're still friends, but at a distance. You see what I'm saying? Hell, okay, you be over there, and I just go be with the people that have my same aspirations and desires and camaraderie. Yeah, I can talk to you on the phone, maybe, if I want to. So I don't have to read all of this. You guys can read the rest of this. I think I said enough. Been almost on here for close to an hour talking about this. I just wanted to let y'all know that just like you have your constitutionally protected rights, they do too. Just because they believe what they believe, they have rights. You see what I'm saying? That's on them and it's on you. We don't have to fight about this thing. No, they don't have to prove. Somebody said, don't they have to prove the claim first as an emergency? Not really, because overwhelming public perception on television is showing people are dying and getting sick, they're not showing the other side of the coin where there's people who are, the survivability rate. So unfortunately, public perception is what is the prevailing authority here. you know, that's it. Thank you. Thanks for the happy birthday to everyone. Oh, yeah. See, someone said they know two people that had issues and landed them in the hospital. That's true. But unfortunately, that is not being discussed as much as the other side is. See, to them, that the benefit of taking the vaccine is outweighs the consequences of people having issues with it. You know, truth and facts count when you can prove them. You have to prove them. That's the problem. Remember, y'all don't remember what you call training day? It says, he said it's not it's, it's what you can prove. That would actually happen. It's what you can prove. And unfortunately, y'all can't prove all this stuff. Yeah, okay, somebody got hurt. Okay, now you need to go get them tested. Is the doctor gonna say that that's what caused it? See, hey, listen, they claiming it. You can sit here, I am fingers one love. You can go back and forth with these questions all you want, but you're going down a road that you're not gonna win or anybody else is gonna win. Right now, the overwhelming majority agree with what is being done. It's a minority that don't agree. So you're gonna sit here and fight against the wind is basically what you're doing, and figure out a way around it. I have. I'm not gonna see. I ain't in no battle. I'm not fighting this whole situation. I'm not worried about it. Why? Because I'm in a position where I don't need to worry about it. I don't have to. All right, y'all. What facts? Listen, what you call facts are not facts. Let's call it. Let me just be straight. What you saying are facts are not facts. Why? Because you don't have signed affidavits from these people saying what's real and what's not real. You don't have a paper trail. You don't have a witness list. You don't have none of that. So you could call what you think is facts is not facts. Facts before the court is different from your perception of facts. Let's call that. Let me put that out there. So you go start a YouTube channel and you talk about all the facts you got and see how far you get. All right. This is what makes me laugh about people, what they call them facts. Yeah, it may have happened. I'm not saying it didn't. But what happened and what you can show in front of a court and prove it, and what is going to be allowed and accepted is two different things. That's right. ME is all about the paper. And guess where all the papers at on their side, on what they believe? They documenting stuff and they're saying this is it, and they're publicizing. What are you doing? Presumption on my let me put it. Let me put this. Let me shut this conversation down. Send him packing. See, that's a person that want to argue with everything they come in contact and say, this is fact. This is what's going on. Show me your facts. Yeah, I hear people being harmed by certain things all the time. But when I go to argue my case, none of those people are going to show up to court. None of those people are going to give me an affidavit. So what am I talking? So basically, that's really hearsay. What you calling facts are hearsay. Straight up. Yes, it's a very perception problem. And the perception is on the side of the person with the mic. Let me give you an example. You go into church and you hear a guy, the preacher, he's up there preaching and you don't agree with his preaching, but you in the audience and you disagree with his preaching. and you try to say, no, that's not fact. And you want to, yeah, your point might be true about the Bible and his is false, but guess what becomes fact? All the people that's sitting there listening to him because he got the mic. And that's what you're dealing with. See, the art of war is knowing how to deal with your enemy, knowing your enemy's power. This is why a lot of people go into court losing. Yeah, you might be right about your straw man arguments. There's truth to that. We all know that. But how many people go into court and have won it? Why? Because they have not been able to present the facts in the court case where it could be accepted. And you in a system that thrives on your ignorance to that fact about straw men, they thrive off that. So you're going into their field, their game, trying to change the game. No. See, the cases I won, I didn't go in there trying to fight that. I just fought one thing: jurisdiction. What is the jurisdiction of the court? See, that is the answer. Where's your jurisdiction? Show me. Prove it to me. In a lot of these cases, they have a problem showing that. See, that's a fact. That's right. It's all about paper. That's why I tell y'all to correct your nationality on paper and prove. Show them the proof of who you are. See, they can't prove, like in my other recording when I was in the car in my truck, and I said, they cannot prove you're a U.S. citizen. That's a fact. Why? Because their laws doesn't identify you as one. That's a fact. And I could prove that. I could prove I'm not a U.S. citizen. Why? Because my birth certificate doesn't say it. See, those are all things I see. I deal with things I can prove. And hint, hint, these little rules that they're making is for who? U.S. citizens. If you are not that, then where's their jurisdiction? Enough said. All right, 7:16. I gotta go. Got things to do. Get on with my day. Sorry I didn't do a show yesterday. I was around working and on some things. So I thought I'd make it up for y'all this morning. See, Mr. E picked up on what I just said. He said, "Oh, wow." See, he just picked up on just what I said. See, y'all want to go in with, y'all want to stand on the front line. Like, what do they call that piece on the board? Pawns. Fighting these other BS arguments when I just gave y'all the hint. How to. I just gave y'all the biggest tool y'all got. These rules apply to certain individuals, and if you're not that, then where do you stand? You're outside of that. All right. With that being said, hey, these shows ain't free. It costs me, run this station all the time. Thanks to everyone who supports and give their donations to this ministry. I appreciate you. And I appreciate it if you're finding your heart to donate to help this content going. Listen, I know some of the stuff I read today, a lot of y'all didn't agree with it. Y'all want to, you don't want to whine about it. Listen, I have to give you the truth the way it is, not some fantasy, so you can run in the courtroom with that fantasy and get your behind handed right back to you. With that being said, peace, prosperity, and extreme wealth to all.
Peace to the gods. You're listening to Hindsight Radio. This is Hindsight Radio. I represent it. The information station changing the nation.